Peace and love, family. Welcome to another powerful discussion with your sister, Dr. Ma'ai. Peace and love to everyone in the building. I see you, New Black World Order. All right, he's telling you, he said, Peace, family. Share the show, subscribe, and hit the like button. Welcome, enjoy the information. Glad you're here. Ashe, peace to my brother Yapo. He was the first person in the building. He said, Peace and Black Power. Looking forward to another thought provoking build as always. Ashe. And peace to my beloved sister, a beautiful mind. She says, Peace and love, family. So, family, take a moment out to let's get the word out. Let people know that I'm live. Let's try to pack the house. I had Professor James Small coming on, and he's going to be talking about what's happening over at the Lincoln Heights, the Black community of Lincoln Heights in Weed, California. And that's WEED, yes, WEED in Weed, California. When he called me up and said, Yeah, something's going on in Weed. I said, come again, Professor? I didn't know what he was talking about. But he was talking about something going on in Weed, California. There was a fire that started at a mill, and it burned down. I think they said like 4,000 acres of land was burned. And because it happened to black folks, nobody's talking about it. Now they did mention it on CNN here and there. But no, if this happened to a white community, right? Like if a white community was burnt down to the ground, it would be plastered all over the news. But of course, it happened to the black folks and nobody cares. So no one's talking about it. So it's imperative that black media puts this out there. So I'm not sure if Brother Tariq Nasheed has heard about it. And I'm talking about black folks who have huge platforms. I'm going to bring this up tomorrow. I'm supposed to be on Vicky Dillard's platform. And so I'm going to talk about the black community of Lincoln Heights over there. And hopefully, like I said, reach out to people like Phil Scott. I know that he has the Phil Scott show, and I think the African Diaspora channel. So I need to reach out to people like that who have platforms, so that our people know what's happening. Peace to you, Brother Steve. I see you in the building. Please, Logical One. He said, Greetings from Baltimore. Peace to you, beloved. I see you in the building. Virgo Venom. Peace to you, beloved. Black Power, Black Power, Black Power Queen. D Centavo. He said, Peace, love, and unity, fam. Peace. Make sure, family, you share the show. Share the discussion. All right, let's get the views up. Professor James Small will be in the building in a few minutes. I just wanted to get it warmed up a little bit for him to give you all some background information regarding this, black community. So I'm going to share my screen with you. And let me know if you can hear the audio of the trailer, because it was brought to my attention that some of these websites have it set up like, okay, so for example, Amazon Prime. If I were to log into my account, pull up a video and try to share it with you, it'll be a blank screen. You won't see anything, but you'll hear something, right? So please let me know if you can't hear the audio. And thank you so much, Brother Ayapo, for sharing the discussion. And so anyway, Professor James Small sent me this 5-minute trailer on the a 5-minute trailer about the black community in Weed, California. So I believe that Weed, California is located in the northern part of California. And I'm going to read or try to read because I got to get some glasses, family. Like the time is now. So I'm going to try to read it. But it says right here, hold on, let me go back. All right, so there's a trailer out. Okay, it says the documentary From the Quarters to Lincoln Heights is designed to tell the story of how this large, established African American population in the small northern, I did say northern, town of Weed, McLeod, Mount Shasta, and Donsmere came to root themselves in such an unlikely place. It says migrating from the southern United States in the 1920s through the 60s to work. Let me see. I click read all. McLeod, migrated into the 60s to work in some of the world's largest lumber mills. So it says this film explores the unique communities of African Americans and the early interracial relationships that existed in Northern California. So I definitely want to check out um, this trailer and also the film. All right, so let's look at the trailer together. This is the first time I'm watching it. He sent this to me a few days ago, and I said I'll watch it with my peoples. All right, so let me share the audio because you already know that I be that shows you the trailer and you be in the chat. Doc, I can't hear anything, So let me make sure that it's shared. All right, here we go, and let me turn the audio up. Here we go.
This is Lincoln Heights in Weed, California. Originally a company-owned lumber town, Weed became its own town in 1901. I arrived in 1974 and noticed how many African Americans were living here. From the first day I arrived, I was curious how African American people came to be located in this unlikely place in the mountains of Northern California.
He said, how you like going to Weed? And I hopped up. I said, talking about Weed. I said, you know that's my home.
Longdale brought a lot of people from Louisiana, Arkansas, Texas, and different places to Weed because at that time they worked for them there and they just moved them out here.
And the people would come from the South, and if you got here, you wrote home. This is what I hear. Now I'm younger. I never worked in a mill, but if you got here and you made a certain wage and you wrote home and told a little brother that was getting, of age maybe that, you were making a certain amount of money and you sent for them, that person came, they were working in a few days after they got here.
I call it a good life, but it was a very segregated life.
You look at the story of Weed as almost a small example of what I think the majority of Black people had to go through that whole time in the country. It's just that thing happening in that small area was happening all over the country at the time.
He said that, how big were these trees? And I told him what they were. And he kind of acted like I didn't know what I was talking about, like the trees must have been 1 foot or 2 foot or something. And anyway, he didn't believe me. He said, now over there in Redding, we had a real big sale, and they called it the mega buck sale. I said, well, I cut those trees. I don't even think he believed me.
I think Lincoln has a huge impact on what we became, especially the club, the place that was the juke joint. And juke joint, those are only like in the South. But yet you have one on the West Coast that had parties and dances and, all kind of stuff going on. I was real small. I don't remember that, but I remember the cars and the music and stuff. And my parents told me, you can't go there. You can't even walk by there. I remember that.
Another gentleman by the name of Willie Walker, Alandis Clark, were some of the young men that were here at that point in their 20s, who were trying to get more jobs for the Blacks here in the community.
Well, you just didn't want to shout to the world that, I'm not being treated right. I can't get this job because I'm black.
They associate us that we like chicken. I don't know, and I do love chicken. I mean, I like all meat, but where did this come from? Why is it? And maybe because of back on the slavery days, that's what they ate more. Watermelon, all of that stuff. I'm at a place where I eat watermelon. I feel, I go get me a piece of watermelon, and then, they call it nigger meat, and stuff. And so, I'm sort of like saying, when I get a piece of watermelon, people looking and, you probably say, yeah, well, you knew he was going to get some watermelon, or you knew he's going straight to the chicken,
Story. If you're going to tell a story, tell the whole story.
Right.
You can't pick bits and pieces and say, well, this person got called a nigger, but this person down here just called a little colored boy. They call them niggers from the day they got here, and not so much today.
Right.
Actually, not so much
since we started.
We've been around and got big enough to where
we wasn't having
that wasn't going down anymore.
And there was so many of us.
Family, I gotta see this. I'm not even gonna lie. Just looking at this trailer, oh my goodness, looking at this trailer, I was like, oh my goodness, I gotta see this. Hold on, let me blow it up. Here we go. So looking at this trailer, it's making me want to see it. Professor James Small, he sent to me, like I said, a couple of days ago. And I said, I'll just watch it with the people when we go live to talk about this Black community. I never heard of this Black community, okay? This thriving Black community right there in Northern California in Weed, California. Yes, WEED, Weed. And so one thing I thought about when I watched the trailer with you was that this community was established in the early 1900s. And so we have to understand what was happening at that time. Remember, the Great Migration took place between the Great Migration. We were already migrating out of the South, after the Civil War, but the bulk of us, we left out between 1915 and 1970. And I want to show you this book right here. Please get it if you don't have it. The Warmth of Other Suns, The Warmth of Other Suns by Isabella Wilkerson. Hopefully I didn't butcher her name. My Baltimore accent, I'll butcher your name in a heartbeat. But The Warmth of Other Suns by Isabella Wilkerson. I read every page of this book, and I know you're looking at it like, oh, it's kind of thick, but it reads like a novel, So I literally like read it in like a week and a half. I mean, that's how good it is. Okay, but in this book, she tells the story of, and I'm pretty sure these elders at the time have already transitioned, but she tells their story. One elder migrated to California from out of the South. I think another one went to Chicago, and then another one went to New Jersey. And she talks, she actually interviewed them and talked about their lives in the South before they migrated, why they migrated, how they migrated, and what the conditions were like when they migrated to the North. And all of them said that when they migrated, north, they said, or Northwest, Northeast, or the Midwest, they said that, the North was just a kinder mistress, but it was still very racist. It may not have been as, overt as the South, but they still experienced a lot of racism. So I thought about that, the Great Migration, when they talked about when in this trailer, when they talked about when this community was established. Another thing that I thought about when I watched it was the brother talking about how segregated this particular community was. And so right now, the Read Book Club, we're reading and discussing The Color of Law by Richard Rothstein. All right. Join me here on Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to discuss this book. Even if you don't have the book, still tune in. All right. This Sunday, we're going to be discussing chapter 3 of this book. We've already discussed the preface, or really technically is the preface, but the preface of the book. We discussed chapter 1, we discussed chapter 2. And so go and get caught up on those discussions. But even if you don't get caught up or you don't have the book, tune in to the build, because you will learn something. And so this book talks about how the government segregated America through policies, they segregated America. So through the FHA, through the PWI, the Public Works Administration, through the USHA, the U.S. Housing Authority, they used a lot of these policies and programs to segregate communities that what they essentially did was lock Black people out. All right, they locked us out. We weren't able to really to establish thriving communities. Every time we did, they came and burned it down or found a reason to put a highway, to create a highway through the Black community. They did all kinds of things to sabotage Black progress in this country, and we get into that in this particular book. Another thing I thought about when I was watching this trailer was that the gentleman said, "I like watermelon." He said, I don't even understand why I like watermelon. I love watermelon. And what that brother was essentially saying is he didn't understand how that particular, I guess, fruit became, a norm to eat, like in the Black community. And what I would say to that brother who said, "I eat watermelon, I don't know why we eat all this watermelon," it's because that's something that we ate in the South. Every time I go down to Sumter County, South Carolina at family reunions, that's what we do. We get the watermelon, we cut the watermelon up. Now, they got to be very sweet for me to eat it, okay? It's already seedy. I don't like all of the seeds. And then if it's not sweet, I don't eat it. But we get a huge watermelon and we cut it up and we eat it, okay? And so that's a custom that we brought with us from the South. So he's in Northern California saying, "Hey, I don't know why we eat more watermelon, but we do, because when we migrated out of the South, we brought with us our customs, our traditions. We brought with us our culture when we migrated out of the South." I'm over here in Baltimore. My mother is straight Southern. Okay. She was born in Sumter County. Her siblings were born up here, but she was born in Sumter County. Of course, she was raised by her mother, who was born and raised right in Sumter County. And so my family, we have a lot of Southern traditions in our family. So for example, on New Year's, I think we eat black eyed peas? I believe it is. It's black eyed peas. My mother cooks black eyed peas and she says it's for good luck. So we got to eat black eyed peas and collard greens New Year's. When New Year's hits, we got to eat that because it's good luck. Well, where did that come from? That's Gullah Geechee culture. That's Gullah Geechee culture, right? And I know that they eat, I don't know if it's black eyed peas. Theirs may be kidney beans, but I know that it's like a deviation or derivation of their culture, right? And so when we migrate to places, we bring our culture with us. That's why there you can identify a lot of Africanisms in the so-called African American culture. We have Africanisms because we brought with us our culture. And so anyway, family, I'm going to drop the link in the chat to the trailer. Make sure when you get an opportunity to check out this discussion. All right, I see you in the telly. You telling me, Gabriel Dingleton said hello from Charleston. See? You see what I'm saying? Charleston, South Carolina. Hoppin' John, Phyllis Pease. Yes, family. So we got the Southern folks in the building, man. So they'll tell you. So anyway, check out this trailer. Check out the documentary when you get a chance. Well, this particular community, the Black community of Lincoln Heights, located in Weed, California, was burnt down recently, family. So this is the CNN report. I'm going to play this for you. Broke my heart. It broke my heart when Professor James Small reached out and he was like, "We need to raise money. We need to do what we can. There are a lot of families who just lost everything." He said a fire, sparked some at the mill, and they saying that it burnt over 4,000 acres of land. A few people were killed, but he said a lot of people are displaced and they don't have nothing. And I mean, I heard the hurt and Professor James Small, his voice, when he was heavy, like his voice was so heavy when he called me and he's like, I need to raise money. He was like, this was my hometown. I lived out here because he's from, I think, Beaufort County, South Carolina, but he migrated from there to, I believe, California, and then eventually to New York. Professor James Small has been all over. All right. And so anyway, he lived there. This is his hometown. And so people are reaching out to him saying, hey, send us some money. We need some help. We have a GoFundMe. All right, family. And so anyway, I'm going to let you hear the CNN report.
In Northern California, a raging wildfire has killed 2 people. Officials say they died as a result of the mill fire in the town of Weed on Sunday. The size of the fire has almost doubled since Friday, burning through more than 4,000 acres, or about 1,600 hectares. Officials say 50 structures have been destroyed and about 1,000 people have been forced to evacuate. And a suffocating heat wave is making fires in California and other.
I'm not even thinking about the heat wave right now. Let's go back to that. Did you hear what they said? Over 1,000 people had to evacuate their belongings, family. Everything is gone. Everything is gone. No wonder Professor James Small, his heart was heavy. Like I said, he sent all of this stuff to me. I'm watching it with you for the first time, okay? And my heart is heavy now, and I see why the elder's heart was extremely heavy. 1,000 people had to evacuate their belongings, everything gone. Let's play that one more time.
In Northern California, a raging wildfire has killed 2 people. Officials say they died as a result of the mill fire in the town of Weed on Sunday. The size of the fire has almost doubled since Friday, burning through more than 4,000 acres, or about 1,600 hectares. Officials say 50 structures have been destroyed and about 1,000 people have been forced to evacuate. And a suffocating heat.
She said 50 structures have been destroyed, and 1,000 people have been displaced. Okay, so family, let's look at this. Let me minimize this. And again, I'll drop the link in the chat so that you all can share it and get the word out. Nobody's talking about this. When stuff happened to Black folks, nobody cares. So you don't hear the media. You don't hear the media covering this. So they have an emergency GoFundMe up for the historic Lincoln Heights Emergency Fund. I'm going to drop this link in the chat as well. All right. They're trying to raise 60,000. Is that 60,000, family, or 50,000? My eyes. It's 50,000, and they're halfway there. I would argue that those brothers and sisters need much, much more than $50,000. And surely, the Black community should be able to raise money, right? I know, and shout out to Tariq Nasheed. I know he was able to raise, I think within 3 weeks, he was able to raise like $1 million for his museum. And so we can raise $1 million. I think it was either 1 million or 2 million. Tell me in the chat, family. I think it was within about 3 to 4 weeks. The brother was able to raise about $1 million or $2 million, right? Within 3 to 4 weeks. Tell me in the chat which number it is. But I know that he was able to raise that amount of money. And if he can raise that for a museum, surely we can raise $1 million or $2 million for a historic Black community that has gone up in flames. Surely. I think I'm sounding like my mom. My mother is an ordained pastor. She's an assistant pastor. And as she says, surely, and that's what she always says, surely, when she gets on the pulpit. But surely, all jokes aside, surely we should be able to. Okay, King Simon said 1 million. Peace to you, King Simon. I know that you just had the conversation with Professor James Small, I think about a few days ago, on the burning, the fire that happened in the Weed community, or the Black community of Lincoln Heights, located in Weed, California. And yes, family, WEED, Weed, because when he first said that to me, I said, come again? I said, is it named that? No, it's nothing, not connected to that. I said, okay. But, I know that King Simon, you just had, a discussion with Professor James Small on this community. And as I was explaining to the people, King Simon, he reached out and wanted to have the discussion tonight because he's trying to raise money for the displaced families. I mean, they lost everything. And so, I mean, I'm grateful, family, that we were able to raise $22,000 for these brothers and sisters. But we should be able to raise more. And the only way that we can raise more money is if we spread the awareness, right? If we raise the awareness of what happened to these brothers and sisters. So I appreciate you, King Simon, for having the discussion. And family, hit up the people that you know who have platforms. I know a lot of you, you're connected with Tariq, and I like to say follow, right? Because it sounds so sheepish. It's sheepish in my opinion, right? Like, no, we're not following anybody. We're just connecting with people. We're on social media and we're connecting with folks. So those Black folks or Black media that that you support, that you tune into, make sure you hit them up and say, hey, are you covering the fire, that took place in Weed, California? So holla at the Phil Scotts, the Tariqs, the Vicky Dillards, all of these different, Black platforms. Okay. What's the guy named Brown? His last name is Brown. Y'all know who I'm talking about. They start with, I don't want to say Kwame, or maybe Kwame Brown, but you can correct me if I'm wrong in the chat. But press up on these these so-called Black outlets, right? Or these Black people with, huge audiences, right? And say, use your platform. You should be using your platform to do things like this, right? To fundraise, okay? A lot of them put some money in my Cash App. They quick to tell you that. I got the super chat on. Hit my super chat up. Hit my super chat up. Cash at me, right? They do that. So surely they can raise money for the Black community of Lincoln Heights. All right. And so anyway, how did the fire get started? Professor James Small sent this article to me, and I'm going to drop this article in the chat, family. Yep, Kwame Brown. Thank you, Gail. Yep, we need to press these folks. You want to ask me for a daggone Snapchat. What's not Snapchat? I said Snapchat. Super chat. Oh, hit my super chat. Hit my super chat. Here's my Cash App. Here's my Cash App. Begging every time you get on social media. But then you're not doing anything for the community. And if it don't apply, let it fly. All right. If it doesn't apply, let it fly. Where's the screen? There it is. All right. Yeah. Put some money in my Cash App. No, we need to be doing things like this, right? Raising awareness of what's happening to our people, right? All right. And sending resources to our people that are needed. So anyway, it says neighbors say deadly California fire ignited at lumber mill, a source of tension in Weed. And so remember in the trailer, they were saying that a lot of people migrated to Weed to work in the lumber mill. They were making a couple of dollars out there. So a lot of people migrated there. And now they're saying that the fire actually started in the lumber mill. All right. So hold on. I'm going to keep on going. And like I said, family, I'm over here squinting. Okay. Literally, I got to get some glasses. All right. So it says the giant green warehouse known as Shed 17 loomed across the railroad tracks from Debbie Cummins' Alamo Avenue home since she moved there in 1988. On Friday, she and dozens of her neighbors watched in terror as the building turned into a giant plum of black smoke and flames. The first 911 calls came in just after 12:45 p.m. So it says right here, report of a fully involved commercial structure fire, a dispatcher relayed to firefighters, according to the archive radio traffic. This will be at the mill near the fire station. Wow. Minutes later, a firefighter replied, this is the entire Shed 17, probably 50,000 square feet. Woo! Fire is now jumping Highway 97 with a strong south wind. We're going to need at least 3 alarms on this. It says within minutes, powerful winds blew the fire into Weed's historically Black neighborhood, Lincoln Heights, just to the north of Cummins' home. Dozens of homes burnt to the foundations. The fire eventually burned more than 6 square miles and 2 women died. The mill referenced in the radio traffic was Roseburg Forest Products sprawling lumber mill on the north side of Weed, a fixture in the community since the late 1800s, and now one of the focal points in a Cal Fire investigation into what the agency calls the mill fire. So remember in the CNN video, you kept hearing them say the mill fire, the mill fire. So now we're getting some context. It says where exactly the fire started remains a mystery. So, black folks, we start having, when they say it's a mystery, we start creating conspiracy theories, right? Like, did the white folk, so we start. So anyway, they saying that it remains a mystery. Hopefully they find out what sparked it. But it says Cal Fire hasn't yet identified its origin, and officials with Oregon-based Roseburg told the Sacramento Bee they're cooperating with Cal Fire's investigation. They told the San Francisco Chronicle that the ruined warehouse was used to store unused equipment. The company did not respond to requests for comment Monday for this story. Weed Mayor Kim Green and Councilwoman Susan I guess that's Tavero. Like I said, Baltimore accent, we butcher everything. Say they heard the fire began on the Roseburg property. Numerous residents of this city of 2,600 have heard the same. All right, let's keep on going. Cummins has no doubts. It started here, she said Saturday, pointing toward the still smoldering pile of twisted girders and mangled sheet metal, all that remained of Shed 17. She said that building. If investigators determine that the fire did start there, the tragedy marks a potentially difficult new chapter in the sometimes contentious relationship between the city and the lumber mill that has served as Weed's economic backbone for more than a century. Says with a staff about 140, the mill, which produces wood veneer products and has a wood fire power plant that generates electricity, remains one of the largest employers in the city an hour south of the Oregon border. The mill, once owned by timber baron Abner Weed, the city's namesake. Okay, so now I know where you got because I'm telling you, when Professor James Small said, yeah, the community is the Weed, I said, well, is it connected to? No, it's not that. So now we know that the owner, that the person who owned the mill, her name or his name was Abner Weed, okay? And so the city was named after that. It says, went through a succession of owners before Oregon-based Roseburg acquired it in the 1980s. Environmentalists, neighborhood groups, and the city itself have battled Roseburg for much of the past 2 decades over concerns about air pollution in the city's water supply. Starting to sound like the battle that's happening in a lot of our communities. We're talking about air pollution just in Baltimore. I think it came out like a week ago. Don't drink the water. Don't drink the water. You already know in Flint, I think they still don't have water. Did you notice everywhere we are, we had to combat, air pollution and the water quality. Did you notice that? So anyway, it says if it turns out Roseburg is responsible for starting the mill fire, the company is going to need it to act quickly to help those who lost everything. Okay, everything. It said Bruce Shoemaker, a founding member of a group that contested a company proposal to sell a water source, all right, the town had used to a private company. He said affordable housing is hard to come by, an ongoing problem since 2014. Bowles Fire destroyed nearly 1/3 of the city's housing stock. These people need places to live, he said. They don't need homes 5 years from now after a long lawsuit. He's right. But that's what's going to happen. You all know that's what's going to happen, right? It's going to be a long lawsuit. And in years from now, they may or may not get some money. And so that's why, family, I'm going to drop it in the chat. That's why, family, we have to family, raise the money. These people don't have a home. They lost everything. Give what you can. If you have $5, give them $5. If you have $10, $20, give what you can. All right. And a lot of us spend money on food. I know I eat out a lot. I go to, smoothie spot. I get me a smoothie, or I go get me a wrap. Sacrifice, for one day. Get, $20, $30, $100. Give what you can so we can raise the money for these brothers and sisters. He's right. They need homes. They need things. They don't have anything right now. All right. So it says environmentalist fights power plant. So it says Weed City Councilman Bob Hall has been in the middle of recent fights over Roseburg's plans. He says they think I want to close the mill down. I don't, Hall said. I really don't. He said, I just want them to be good neighbors. Hall's fight with Roseburg began back in 2006 when the company proposed building a new power generation facility that would burn wood chips. The heat from the burning would generate steam to spin turbines and to create electricity. I mean, okay. I mean, I kind of hear what they're saying, so it's an alternative power source, right? Like you're using wind now, all right, to generate, electricity. But let's see I want to see what the pushback is about. So it says Hall, who lives near the site, was worried about the air pollution. Okay. Because what happens is they want a power generation facility that would burn the wood chips. Okay. And then the heat would generate the steam to spin the wind turbine. But the people are concerned about the actual, the burning, right? The steam that comes from the burning of the chips. So I do understand their concern. So it says Hall, who lives near the site, was worried about the air pollution from the cogeneration plant wafting into surrounding neighborhoods. Residents in the working class neighborhood had long suffered from health problems and had higher rates of cancer, said Hall, a former nurse. Hall began allies with the local environmental groups that filed suit in an unsuccessful effort to block the plant, arguing that it would foul the air and create enormous noise pollution problems. All right, it says Hall said his work with what he called tree huggers wasn't exactly popular in the timber town, where many were still angry over environmentalists gaining protections for the northern spotted owl, a move that they blamed for curtailing logging in much of the surrounding forest. Other mills around the region had already closed. All right, so it says at one point, Roseburg threatened to shut down the weed mill due to the environmental group's legal challenge, Hall said. Yeah, but if they shut it down, these people won't have any jobs. Because remember, at the beginning of the article, it stated that this particular mill is the economic backbone of this community. So I guess these people were like, if you all going to keep on protesting this, we're going to just shut it down. Okay, and Roseburg, he said, made sure to let everyone know who would be to blame. He says they put an ad in the paper saying that they were going to reevaluate the business here due to a couple of agitators that are making problems for them, he said. That was a PR thing, but they created a bunch of hate for me. I had people that were driving by honking at all times of night, throwing things at the house. Quite honestly, I was so intimidated for about 5 or 6 days, I didn't even leave the house. Wow. So it says Roseburg ended up building the plant, overhauls, and in the environmentalist objections. The company signed a contract in 2019 to sell much of the electricity generated by the biomass plant to a coalition of buyers, including Sacramento Municipal Utility District and the City of Los Angeles, according to records filed with the California Energy Commission. Environmental planning documents, from these particular officials, I don't want to butcher this, prepared for the biomass plant, makes scant mention of any potential fire danger, and in draft environmental impact report notes that there's a fire station near the site. The biomass facility wasn't damaged in the mill fire. Okay. So it says right here, because of the project site, the report reads, has been continuously used for wood mills since 1904. No viable timber resources exist within the area to be affected by the proposed construction of the cogeneration facilities. Therefore, there's a minimum risk for the exposure of wildland fire hazards to people or structures in the area. The Roseburg Mills suffered serious damage in 2014 Ball's fire, which started elsewhere in Weed and ended up torching more than 150 homes. So then it gets family into the battle over Weed's water. And it says, and then rebuilding. Okay, so I can read that. It's not that long. So a battle over Weed's water. It says Hall and environmentalists might have been in the minority when it came to concerns over Roseburg Cogent plant. All right. But a more recent battle with the company over the city's water supply angered a much broader group in town. So it says when Roseburg bought the mill property in the 1980s, it also acquired the rights to a natural spring that supplies the city with water. For decades, Weed has paid the mill's owner a symbolic $1 a year to use the spring as the city's water source. I never understood, family, why water costs. I'm like, man, like we literally pay for water. Isn't that like we literally pay for water? Think about that. We pay for electricity. Think about these things, right? That occur in nature that we actually pay for, right? So we go to the store, we pay the people who may have filtered the water, right? Put it in a bottle and give it to us. We pay for these things, right? Okay. All right. So anyway, it says, but Roseburg made a deal to sell water to Crystal Geyser Roxanne, which runs a water bottling plant in Weed. Okay. In 2016, Roseburg began charging the city, $97,500 a year for its municipal supplies. The company also directed the city, and shout out to Professor James Small, family. He just joined the broadcast. I want to just get through this and I'm going to bring him on. So it says the company also directed the city to begin looking for a new source, according to an account in the New York Times. All right. So I'm going to stop here, family. I'm going to put the link in the chat. This was the article that Professor James Small sent me, and I want to bring him in. Okay. So he can talk to you all about the historical origins of the Weed community, or the Lincoln Heights, the Black community of Lincoln Heights in Weed, California. Okay. And the importance of, donating. Okay. So I've been telling you all, donate what you can. Okay. Donate what you can. So far, they raised 22,000. They said the goal is 50,000, but surely, family, we can raise more than $50,000. So I'm going to donate live with you all, but I'm going to bring in Professor James Small. Peace and love to you, Professor. How are you doing tonight?
Peace and love, sister. I'm sorry I was on the freeway coming in, and you had the UN tonight, and you had the baseball game and a car accident.
Woo!
And I was coming from an hour and a half away in Brooklyn. So
Professor, you don't have to explain to me. You said I'm late. Hey, all right. You don't have to explain. But Professor, thank you so much for joining. I showed the people everything that you sent me via text message. So
Yes,
they saw the CNN video. We watched a trailer about, the Lincoln Heights district in Weed, California. So they're all caught up. So the floor is yours, Professor. Whatever you have to say, the floor is yours.
Yeah. Good evening, brothers and sisters. Sorry for the late. But this is a community that the town of Weed itself was founded about 1906 by a man with a sawmill. And then this big international paper company bought up the forest. And the first Black people came through in the 1920s. You've heard about the Grapes of Wrath, when it was the book, the big novel about the drought in America. And people were leaving the Midwest, Oklahoma, and going to Oregon and going to Washington State to look for work. Well, Black people were a part of that movement as well. And one of the people, Mr. Cookie Wadlow and his family, I think Cookie and him was from Mississippi, was on their way up. And they got to this town of Weed that had just been founded. This is the early 1920s. And the car broke down, and they didn't have any money to pay for the repairs. And so the man says, well, you can work it off working in my lumber mill. And that turned out to be not just a way to pay off the car, but a good way to make money. and the people needed employment. So they began to send letters back home telling the home folks, get in the car and come up to Weed.
Mm.
And so Weed was made up of multiple families. Everybody in the town was families from Mississippi, from Texas, from Louisiana. And then when International Paper, Long Bell, took over, they had sawmills in the South that was now fading. And then they brought that population of Blacks in the 1920s, 30s to this town. So we had the largest, and still do have the largest African-American population north of Sacramento. It's only an hour and so out of Oregon. And it's at the foot of a gigantic mountain, the second largest mountain in America, Mount Shasta. It's an extraordinarily beautiful place. Beautiful place to raise family, raise children. The town had a junior college, and nearly everyone sent their children to college, and those children would go away. So the community was made up of now Lincoln Heights was the name. Of course, in those days, you named everything after Abraham Lincoln. So the Black folks named their new community Lincoln Heights. And it was a thriving, full employment Black community almost for its entire history. Everybody there owned their own homes, but a lot of them were old school. They didn't have insurance because the houses they paid off generations ago. And the houses were intergenerationally passed down to the next generation. And so a lot of the people that are homeless right now are elderly, retirees, but they've lost everything. I mean, every bit of paper, every photograph, every bit of jewelry, every bit of clothing, and the houses burnt to ashes to the ground. In that community of Lincoln Heights, there was about, I guess, close to, 100 homes burned, a few that wasn't in Lincoln Heights, but 90% is in Lincoln Heights. Of the maybe 70 or plus or more homes, there's only about 8 or 9 still standing. And those were on the periphery. I'm talking about the entire community burned down. We lost people in the fire. Our cousin Marilyn lost her life in the fire. Even though one of the young brothers in the neighborhood who was going door to door trying to get people out went to an extraordinary extent to try and resuscitate her, but it didn't work. But he did save her body. He said he wasn't going to leave the body in that fire. I don't want to tell you the conditions he had to go through to move that body in a heat that was over 130, 40 degrees. We lost a neighbor down the street from my brother. She was a Filipino sister. She's been living in that community for decades. She made it to her car, and they found her laying beside her car. There was another young boy. I heard they found in a home later. There's a number of people still in the hospital with burns. One of them is our cousin Clytus, whose wife died, Marilyn, and he's still in serious conditions with burns from the fire. It was just totally catastrophic. I mean, people had like minutes. What happened, the factory, whatever they were storing, I used to work in that factory, by the way. I worked in there till 68, 69, and I worked in that factory again in 71, 72. That very building, which is about 2 football fields away from the Black community. And there's just a field in between. The grass was dry, the temperature was high, the wind was about 25 miles an hour. Something started the fire in that building, and whatever they were storing in the building blew up. So you can imagine this wooden building on fire, and now embers are spraying through the air. This is about 1 p.m. on Friday the 2nd. And wherever the embers landed, a fire begun. And that meant every house, except one, Brother David and them house on that side of the highway. That's about 50 homes. They all went up like within 15 minutes. And then it got across the highway. And from my sister-in-law, Juanita's house, downward, everything went. On the other side of the street, Hazel and them house, everything went. My nephew was across the street and it didn't touch his house. The only house standing. Everything around him was.
Wow.
My
Wow.
brother was up on the hill. It didn't touch his house. It didn't touch cousin Dee Dee's house. And there's another man that lived. But the two houses beside the church burnt down and it didn't touch the church. It was just, but that's all that's left. Those houses I just named to you and Tommy Tyler's houses, which is two houses in the back of my nephew, and then two other houses. This is a place where I lived much of my life. This is like my second home. South Carolina, my first home, but my family's been there since '58. You know,
Been in weed,
yeah.
okay, since 1950. Okay.
My elder brother still lives there. He's 84, but he's 84 going on 64. And then my youngest brother is there. He's 71 going on 51. You know, these are mountain men. These were lumberjacks all of their lives. So they're in much better shape than me, you know. But I never saw my brother so brokenhearted in my life. You know, he's been like my father all of my life. He couldn't even speak to me for days. I'd never seen anything shake him ever. You know, and he was in the movement in the 60s. He was one of the leaders when CORE was fighting in that same town to get the rights and opportunities for Blacks. He's been in the movement like me all of his life, working out of Northern California. But we've got a movement family, you know, that's just been our destiny. And my nephew, his son, is the minister at the church there, Mount Shasta Baptist Church. And that's who's leading out the fundraising. And that's who's taking care of the people and trying to get the legal services and trying to get, you know, they've got lawyers. And thank God the town is a very beautiful town. It is one of the first integrated town I've ever lived in. And I didn't want to be there because I was Mr. Super Black Nationalist and this didn't disintegrated. So I kept leaving and coming back and leaving and coming back. And I remember in '68, me and my brother put the first Africa Day on in the town, right?
Beautiful.
And I had to tie everybody's gele because the women in town didn't know how to tie a gele. But I knew because, you know, I came from Malcolm's thing in the mosque.
Right.
We went and my mother bought cloth in New York and mailed it out there. We dressed every woman in that town black. You know? And we had this extraordinary day in the park. Of course, the community center that was there and had been revived, that all burnt down as well. And the playground that had been created for the children, that's all gone. Everything is gone, except those few houses I told you and the church. And so the people are all in motels, but they've pledged they're not going to go away. This is their home since the 1920s. This is their ancestral home since they left the South. And they intend to rebuild for themselves. And so that's why I've been for the last 2 weeks instead of going out there to be with my brother. And I wouldn't have had any place to stay because the motels was full and they couldn't go home. I decided to work to help and raise funds and help them to build up the resources in the GoFundMe, which I think you've posted already.
Absolutely, Professor. Absolutely.
But it was just an extraordinary town. And ironically, when I was doing King Simon show the other day, Red Pill was on and told me I go up to Mount Shasta all the time, and he didn't know I lived there. He didn't know my family was there, you know. And he's been going up there since 2016. It's a beautiful retreat place that people go to meditate in the mountains. The mountain is considered to be a very spiritual place. I mean, the water we drank was the melted ice off the mountain. You know, it was just one of those extraordinary places. And nobody knew we were there. But Weed is just one of 4 towns. At the foot of the mountain is Dunsmuir, and there's a Black population there. On the east of the mountain is McLeod. There's a Black population there. And on the west of the mountain is the town of Mount Shasta itself. And it has the second largest Black population, second only to Weed. And then up the highways, Wairika, not Eureka, but Wairika. And then the next town you cross the border, you're into Medford, Oregon. So we lived up there nearly 200 miles away from the Sacramento Richmond area. And most people didn't know there were Black people there, let alone a historical Black town that those people helped, along with their white counterparts, to build, almost from scratch.
You said they built it from scratch, Professor.
Yeah.
And I don't blame them for saying we're not going to leave. Like you said, they've been
Yeah.
there. I think the documentary said since 1904. So I don't
Mhm.
blame those people, Professor, for saying, you know, I want to stay. This is my home. I'm
It
not
is.
going anywhere. And so in the article that you sent me, Professor, they were saying that if it's proven that the fire started at the mill, our people may be displaced for years until they're awarded any type of money. But doesn't the government have, don't expect them to come save us, but don't they have something for this, Professor? I forgot what it's called. FICA. I gotta go back and
Well,
look. Firma.
all of that is now being handled. They have lawyers from the community who have volunteered, whites and Blacks. And so when I spoke to my brothers 2 days ago, yesterday, not 2 days, and that's the first time I heard him laugh. I was so ecstatic. My brother laughed. I didn't hear him laugh. I didn't hear my nephew laugh. But his older son had driven up to be with them and to help them. And so they explained that some insurance companies would be coming in tomorrow for those people who still have homes to see, and to look at those people who lost their homes but have insurance policies. So those appraisals are coming into town. The people who own the factories call a meeting with the community, I think, which is also set for tomorrow. So we'll hear what the outcome of that is. And I know they've made some overt pledges, which wasn't enough. So what my nephew has told his community is that don't take any money. You know, let the lawyers adjudicate this based on the value of what you've lost.
Right.
It can be fully restored and rebuilt. And if they were really serious, you know, what do you call it? Modular homes now is an extraordinarily good process. I mean, right here in New Rochelle, where I live, I watched them put up modular skyscrapers. You know, I couldn't believe it, right? They bring them in pieces on trucks. So I know because there's one home in the town, Cousin Dee Dee's home was a modular home, and it's an extraordinarily beautiful home. If they're serious, and I know the cranes and the heavy equipment is already in there, trying to clear away the debris and stuff. And the FEMA and all the others are there. The federal government has taken over the site. And in the first few days, if you go in there, because my nephew was the minister, he had to put on a hazmat suit and mask and all of the other stuff because the pollutant was in the air and they didn't know what it was because no one knows what the heck was in that building yet. You know, plus all of the asphalt. What do you call it? The thing when the roofs burn. Tar papers and just everything. And most of the houses were wood. So, you know, they went up like that. And they were wooden houses that were decades and decades old. So that's what killed a few people, the inhaling of that fume. It's just heartbreaking that it's hard to explain. This was an African community, right? Where people acted just like they did in Africa as a community. Where everybody's house was your house, everybody's dinner table was your table. Everybody's problem was the other one's problem. I remember back in '68, the first time I saw, well, I'd seen it in the South, but this is the first time out of the South that I've seen people, somebody had to build a house and the entire community showed up and everybody brought something and everybody brought a skill. And in one day, put that building up and put a roof on it, you know? Because everybody in the community was there. Everybody had their hammer. Everybody had their saw. Everybody had their square. Everybody had their ruler. And those people went to work. And they built Bobo's house. You know? And that's anyone else who someone needed a roof. Everybody showed up with their tools.
That's what I'm talking about.
You know? And then put that roof on in one day. You know.
Mm.
Yeah, someone said, I've never heard of this community. Yes, and it was called Weed, and people used to think I would be joking when I said I'm from Weed, California. So it's like, oh, small as into, you know, smoking. The town is called Weed, and it's the most beautiful people you've ever seen. The population were mainly from Mississippi, some from Arkansas, but Mississippi, Texas, and Louisiana made up the bulk of the families that were there. And so you had intergenerational families. So you had like 3 and 4 brothers who had houses built right beside each other on the same street.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I love, Professor, how you talked about, you said this, they function like an African community, because
Yeah.
after I showed the trailer, I was talking about how when you look at our culture, you see a lot of Africanisms, right here within our culture. And so you said that they act, just like an African town where they were extremely communal. So they work
Mhm.
together to build their homes. Like you
On
said,
everything.
my house is your house, everything.
Mhm.
Mm. And Professor, I gotta say this to the people, and thank you so much for those who are donating. I see your donations coming in. Some people are, donating, anonymously, $100, $50, $15. So thank you so much. I see the donations are coming in, family. Please, please, please donate. And I gotta say this, Professor, you don't ask the community for nothing, and you give everything. You
Yeah.
give your time, you give your energy, you give your body. Sometimes I call Professor James Small. He's like, look, I'm tired, but in spite of him, Professor James Small will still get on podcasts. He still will get on a plane and speak. And not only locally, I'm talking about internationally. And he gives so much. And all he's asking, family, is for us to donate. I think that's easy. He's not asking for anything else but for us to donate. And so what I'm going to do right now, live, Professor, is donate, because I believe that you need to lead by example, right? You don't sit up here and ask
Yes,
people to
ma'am.
do something that you don't do. So you see where it says donate now, family. I'm donating, and I'm going to give $500 live tonight. No tip for GoFundMe. I'm going to hit continue. Professor, you calling somebody?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I'm actually calling Reverend Green,
Okay.
who's the
Okay.
minister
Beautiful.
of the church. Alonzo,
Beautiful.
Yes, sir.
I'm on live stream with my sister, Dr. Ma'at, and the people have been giving generously to the GoFundMe, and Dr. Ma'at just gave $500 to support y'all's effort there. So if Dr. Ma'at would want you to make some comments or ask you questions, can you hear him, Dr. Ma'at?
Oh yeah, I says when we sign up, I can hear him loud and clear, and I want him to know that he has my support. All right, it says finish creating an account. I don't want to create an account. I just wanted to donate, which I just did. So anyway, let him know that we support you. We are raising money right now, and people are sending money in, Pastor. And so you have our support. We're going to continue raising awareness and letting people know, what's happening, out there in California. We're going to raise as much money as we can to help the people. So we have our support, Pastor. And what I'm going to also do is my mother's an assistant pastor here at a church in Baltimore. And so I'll make sure that we make an announcement in church to see what we can raise at that particular church and send some funds your way.
Amen. And thank you so much on behalf of all of my people here. The support of us, should I say, my Black people all over the country is overwhelming, and so that all of you guys' support, as I'm able to relay it to the people of Weed. We're kind of in this area that we're used to being overlooked, right? And the people are cautious about going to these different places to sign up because they don't really, trust the people. And they are so happy to have support of others like yourself, and I just want you to know that we really appreciate it.
Ashe. And and Pastor, I know you have boots on the ground right now, and so we appreciate what you're doing to assist everyone. How is the spirit of the brothers and sisters there right now? And I know everyone is displaced. Professor James Small said a lot of people are in hotels. How are the spirit? How's the spirit of the people in Weed,
So
California?
the spirit is actually so much better than say a week ago.
Okay.
We have prayer at 8:30 in the morning, 8:30 at night. The group is just so tight knit. That's what kind of community that you're helping here, Black community. And so I'm getting everybody to pray, voice their concerns, and our spirits are actually good. I mean, we everybody is in agreement that we're going to be all right, and that we are going to rebuild our community, and nobody's going to take it from us.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So you all said we're going to stay put and we're going to rebuild. We're going to rebuild. Ashe. Ashe. Beautiful, Pastor. And what's the name of your church again, Pastor? I don't know if I caught it.
Mount Shasta Baptist Church.
Mount Shasta Baptist Church. Okay, so I needed to know that because I'm going to connect you with, my mother and the pastor. She's assistant pastor, so connect you with them, and we're going to raise some funds. We're going to get some money out there to you ASAP, Pastor. You have my word.
Thank you so much.
No problem, Pastor. Anytime. And Professor James Small, I'm always here.
Yeah,
I'm always here.
This is my little sister, Lonzo. Like you're my little nephew, because he's a 6 foot tall little nephew. But he has worked hard in his community, and he has stayed put in his community. He's raised his beautiful family and sent those kids all off to school in that community. And we're proud of him.
Yes.
As the reverend of the church. His grandfather was a minister in that church. And so we're just proud of you and the work that you're doing. And I know your father, he probably don't want me to tell his age. He's 84, but he's 84 going on 64.
Come on.
And he didn't leave his son's side. He could have gone away to San Francisco or Sacramento with other family members, but he stayed right there in his community to make sure that this boy have the support and that these people have the support they need. But he's been like a leader in that community since the 1960s, and people respect and know him and the family.
So did the church didn't burn down, right? Or the church did burn down?
No.
Okay, the church didn't burn down.
The church is still standing. I haven't been able to get inside. So it's like I got one phone call that the doors were open, and by the time I got there, my deacon had walked in and closed it, and he locked it up, thinking we just need to secure it. Well, the people with the keys are gone out of town because they were just going to stay somewhere. But I once again, I had to talk to the insurance because our one of our church rental houses was no more than 20 feet from the church, and it burned up. So I've got to get it assessed before I can get back in there and, try to get be there for any amount of time.
And Pastor, Pastor?
The neighborhood itself, we're not able to go back in to my house, the one that is standing. So, I'm just trying to deal with different avenues to get with the people. And I'm really, although I'm not able to do things at the church and through it, it's basically been my cell phone and laying hands and eyes on my people.
Well, Pastor, we give thanks for you and appreciate the work that you're doing there. And as I stated, I know you feel like, I'm all the way in Baltimore, but I'm there with you. I'm there with you. Trust me. I'm there with you, Pastor. And so I'll make sure that I continue to do what I do, and that's to raise awareness and get some resources out there. So, Pastor, other than money, do you want us to send anything else, or just the money? Or do you want people to send, what do you know, do you have a list of maybe any items that you all would want us to donate? Do you want us to send food? Do you want us to send clothes? Do you want us to send hygiene products? You know, what else what else could you all use other than money?
So right now, for these past couple of weeks, the gift cards have been awesome, because the majority of these people, I've got them in motel rooms, so they have no place to put furniture. They don't have any place to put an abundance of clothes. So those gift cards right now have been great for essential needs. Now we are starting to move into this area where people are trying to find homes for them. Now, once they do that, I'll reach out and I'll have a specific list, say bedding and pillows, little kitchen items, as they get to places, because these people, a majority of them were in family homes, generational homes. So what I'm finding is there's absolutely no paperwork, no insurance, and so everything that they had is totally gone. So I've got more work to do. We're trying to formulate a list of needs as people start to go to a home. And once I get that, I think that I can start to put them in a group of needs that I could pass on.
Okay. All right. Well, let me know. Keep me posted on that, Pastor. So for now, money, gift cards, and then you said later on you'll give us a list once people get settled into their homes to get other things. Okay, that'll work.
Correct. So
that'll work.
I want you to be able to share what the money's currently going for. So the monies that we're receiving, what we're trying to do with that is offset and actually try to pay first and last month for people as they find a place. Okay. Because I know that that's going to be an issue, and most of these people are like SSI, so there's not a catch up. We've got to give them some room to run.
Okay. All right. Okay, Pastor. Professor, do you have any more questions for him?
No,
while we're live? Anything?
The people to hear him himself from that community tell you about his people and his situation. We'll keep on talking to our people here and around the world and let them know that these people are in need. This is just another one of these extraordinary Black community in America that we don't know about. There are many others. Like I told you, around the mountain, there's 3 others. This was just the largest one. In McLeod, in Dunsmuir, in Manchester. There are Black people who have lived there since the turn of the 20th century, And in other parts we'll find around the country, we have similar kinds of Black communities that many of us don't know exist. And they still have the old school family structure they brought from Mississippi, Alabama, South Carolina. I think our family and Sophie's family and Mr. Sam, we were the 3 South Carolina families in the town. So it's just an extraordinary people with an extraordinary strength, an extraordinary faith, in their divine and in their religion. And I'd never known a place outside of Africa like Weed. It was just heaven. I mean, I had a lot of fun there. Long too young to remember the drive-in movies and, going up to Castle Craig and having picnics in the summer and going up to the mountain and dumping your beer and soda pop in the snow in July and turning on the 4 tracks and opening your car trunk and just partying. And, it was a heavenly, beautiful place and still is,
So, can I I want to share this.
Please do. And while you're talking, while the pastor's talking, I'm going to call the head of our community outreach program at our church. But keep on talking, Pastor. I'm gonna get her on the call right now. I'm gonna mute out, but I'm listening.
Okay. So I wanted to speak to the tight-knit community and how when this fire happened, within 7 minutes, our entire community was on fire. And so that's extremely quick time for people to get out. But I've heard so many stories of heroism, of just in our community, of people realizing that their neighbors are here and knocking on doors and getting people out and carrying elderly to their cars, finding kids. One story, this guy came off of the highway, a brother that knows people in the neighborhood, but he sees the fire happening, has his workers in his truck, goes to a house where this lady was sitting in the house with her son, who's overweight, bedridden. She was sitting there holding her son, prepared. She wasn't going to leave him to die with him in this house. And they come and kick in the door and grab the lady and her son, use his workers to pick this guy up, put him on a flatbed trailer. And then he's driving up the street. And, oh, praise God. He says that the Lord, he didn't know why he stopped in front of this house. And he said the Lord told him to look to his right. And there was a little girl in a house by herself, and he grabbed her and saved this little girl and was able to get out. And I've got so many stories, right? Because I'm talking to everybody that's in my community. And so there's so many heroes, right, that did it out of a love and this koinonia, our community. It's just fabulous to hear. Even though we did lose people, I lost family in this thing. My cousin Marilyn Hilliard, and also her husband was burnt. And I heard the story of a young man that ran in the midst of the fire to try to save Marilyn, who perished. She had a heart attack, but this kid ran in during the time that her husband is burning to try to do CPR on her in the middle of the fire. Heroic. So I know that the Lord was in the midst of this. And though we lost people, believing that the key thing that we need to focus on is that the Lord showed up to Lincoln Heights this day. And he's still here. And he's going to be with us. And he's bigger than any fire. And we're going to walk out of this. And as we continue to gain support from the Black community, I'm able to walk a little different. You know, I was getting weary, but with the help, I'm able to walk like a child of the Most High, with my shoulders back and my head up, knowing that we have support. So once again, this is what I'm thanking you for as I relay to my people, that so many people of our color are uniting to help us. This helps out my people, and I appreciate it.
No, Pastor, and I just called her on the phone while you were talking, and we appreciate you, Pastor. But I just called when you were talking on the telephone, the head of the Purcell Elliott, the head of the community outreach program at my mother's church. She said email her immediately so that she can get some funds over there to you. So, Pastor, do you have a pen in front of you? A pen and a piece of paper with you, or your cell phone?
Hang on. Let me get to my my notebook. My rolling office.
Yeah, this is we talking some thousands. Get some thousands out there to you ASAP. We'll raise it and get it out there to you, Pastor.
Okay. I'm prepared to copy.
Okay, so Pershell, that's PERSHELL, Pershell. Underscore Elliott, ELLIOTT. And let me pull it up to make sure, because I want to make sure I don't give you the wrong. I don't want you to email the wrong person. And they're like, what you talking about, Pastor? So hold on, let me make sure. And that's at yahoo.com. So let me log into my email address and just confirm. Yep. So Pastor, it's Pershell, P as in Paul, E as in everyone, R as in red, S as in Sam, H as in high, E as in everyone, and then 2 L's, love. All right. So Pershell underscore Elliott. That's E as in everyone, L. So love, I as in ice, O as in Oscar, T as in tango, T as in tango, at yahoo.com. So I already briefly explained to her who you are and what's going on, and I'm going to talk to her more in depth tomorrow about it. And then we're going to, like I said, we're going to raise some funds and get some money out there to you ASAP.
And
Professor?
When we get off the line, I'm going to give Dr. Ma'at your number, Alonzo.
Okay.
So she can share it with her congregation family, leadership, and they can be in direct telephone communication with you as well.
Absolutely. Okay. Appreciate that, Professor. Thank you so much, Professor, for making the connection. And so, family, look, no problem, Professor. Always, anything for our people. This is what it's about, doing the work. This is the work. This is a part of the work, Professor. Gotta help out our people. Gotta, make sure our people are good. So this is a part of the work. Family, please donate. All right. Donate. I see the donations are coming in. I thank you so much. You see my name right here. I donated 20 minutes ago. My little $500. That's why I said my little. I wish I could do more. My little $500 is right here, family. So you got to lead by example. Okay. But I see the donations coming in. I appreciate you. Noah Randall, I appreciate you. Some of you are donating anonymously. Janae West, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Morgan Hammond, appreciate you. Michelle, appreciate you. So thank you so much, family, for donating. So please continue to donate. I'm going to drop the link in the chat. All right. I'm going to drop the link in the chat, and I'll be going on other platforms now that I'm armed with this information. All right. To raise the awareness of what's happening what happened to our brothers and sisters and what's happening to our brothers and sisters out there in Weed, California. Okay. So Pastor, Professor James Small, do you all have any closing words?
Lon can close, and then you and I will,
Okay. Pastor.
Yes. And all I want to say is, number one, thank you. Blessings to you all. And listen, I'm preaching to my people strength and unity. Maybe this is just a sign that us as Black people, we've got to find, like my uncle said, these small communities and make them not a hidden jewel anymore, just a jewel. And I thank you all. You just don't know what you're doing for these people. This is huge. And I just appreciate everything you're doing. And God bless you all.
Ashe.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
Alonzo. And I'll be in touch, and I'll share your number with Dr. Ma'at.
All right, my uncle. Thank you so much.
Oh, just give my love to the family. Let everybody know I love. They know how I love them, and we.
Yeah,
my love is deep. Okay, my brother.
Yes.
Peace and
All
blessings.
right.
Thank you so much, Professor. I didn't know what was going on when I heard the phone ringing initially, but that was powerful. You actually brought somebody on who they're there, and they're dealing with this. And so thank you so much for making that call. Professor, do you have any closing words for the listening audience?
Well, just to say to our people again, people don't realize when people describe our African community in America, they like to try and demean our community. But whenever there's a crisis, and I have never seen it fail, this community rise to the task. When I first reached out to them to say, I can't come because I need to help you from here.
That's right.
In 2 days, we raised about 16,000. I went, brother King Simon. We did a project with King Simon. Brother Rich. We did a piece with Brother Rich. And I missed Brother Obati Shaka. I'm gonna have to reschedule. I had conflict schedule him and you tonight. And others, Sister Neat is gonna do something with me next week. And people are just saying, what can we do to help our people?
Absolutely.
And people have done it. And that's just what has gone to the GoFundMe. People who have sent the cards, the gift cards, tens of thousands of dollars to help those people buy toothpaste, toothbrush, because they don't have nothing. They weren't able to pack no bags or nothing.
Right.
Or something in a purse. People lost all of their medication. They have to find new prescriptions from doctors now and things like that. That may seem simple to us, but when you're an elderly and you're diabetic and you have other illness and you lost all your medication and you lost your prescriptions and your doctor there, you may not be able to see a doctor but once a month. You have to go down to Reading, which is 100 miles away. Or you have to go to the hospital in Mount Shasta, which is 11 miles away. It's just a wonderful thing. And I just want to thank everyone who've been supportive and thank everyone tonight who have donated. And so please, to those who haven't yet and those who will hear this later, please donate to those brothers and sisters. Help them get on their feet again. Help them restore their strength again, because these are strong, beautiful African people.
Ashe. And I see Black Wild, you said donated. Gail at Night, she says she donated. Thank you so much,
Thank you,
family.
Sister Gail.
We appreciate you. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. And so let's continue doing what we can do, family. And join me back when I ain't gonna say back here. I'll be on Vicky Dillard's. I'll be on her platform tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And the first thing I'm going to open up with is talking about what's happening with our brothers and sisters in Weed, California. So, family, join me on Vicky Dillard's platform tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If I don't see you tomorrow, join me back here on Friday. No, I'm going to get in trouble. I can't go live Friday because we got an event Saturday. Join me back here on Sunday. Okay, if I miss you tomorrow, join me back here on Sunday at 7 p.m. for the Read Book Club. We are studying and reading and discussing, all right, The Color of Law by Richard Rothstein. So join me back here. If you don't catch me on Vicky's, join me here on Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a black-tastic week. Peace and Black power.